Do you ever feel like you're not good enough, or that maybe you have imposter syndrome and you compare yourself to other people that seem to be more successful than you? We're going to be talking about this because there is a way that you can overcome those, combat those, so that you can live a better life. So stick around. Hi, my name is Linda Sunshine West. I'm the founder and CEO at Action Takers Publishing. Before we get started, I want to invite you to follow us. We are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, Action Takers Publishing. Our mission is to empower 5 million women and men to share their stories with the world to make a greater impact on the planet. One of the things that we love doing is showcasing our authors to share their stories, their message, about how they have overcome different things in their lives, as well as how they help other people. Today, I'm so excited to bring up on the stage Dr. Sonja Jahn, and we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. These are some things that are near and dear to my heart because I've experienced all these things. Imposter syndrome, I'm not feeling good enough. Maybe you have limited money beliefs. There's like so many different kind of limited beliefs out there. But Sonja, I'm excited to have you here. Why don't you share just a little bit about yourself before we get into the interview?
Thank you, Linda, and hello to everyone joining us here today. So I am a transpersonal counselor, a holistic life coach, a certified hypnotherapist, a metaphysical practitioner. And essentially what I do is my clients are typically entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers across the world. And what my logo is master your inner world. So my focus is to show people that what goes on inside of you influences what happens and what you experience on the outside. So as I say to my clients, the outside is a reflection of the inside. And essentially what I do is I help my clients break through mental barriers, help them remove unresolved emotions from past experiences. I help them break through restrictive behavior patterns that they have, and even challenging life situations like divorce or grief and just, having moved out of a romantic relationship with immense heartbreak. And the way I do this is by removing the subconscious root cause of the issue. And what happens is that I've developed a couple of unique methods that allow me to do that. And the beauty about this process is that whatever is holding you back or hindering you or getting in the way of what you're wanting in your life is removed quickly and easily. So I offer essentially one-on-one coaching programs specific to your personal life and your business life, so personal development for business success, whether you have perfectionism, imposter syndrome, as you mentioned earlier, limiting beliefs getting in your way, we can clear them out of the way so you can achieve a greater level of success and prosperity, you feel more joy, you're aligned with your purpose, and at the end of the day, you have the impact that you seek to make in the world. And aside from that, I also offer group training and development programs for companies. I have 3 of them. One of them focuses on how you remove your mental and emotional barriers that keep you from making more sales. The other one is how to become more persuasive so you can make more sales. And the last one is for you to just learn to have more energy, be more productive and less stressed by learning how to meditate. And the beauty is around all of these things is that you move yourself to the next level that you're wanting to be functional at.
That's awesome. I love that you're doing this work. It's so important, for us to release those blockages that are stopping us and, from moving forward. I met a life coach almost a little over 10 years ago. And that was one of the greatest things I ever did, was hiring her, because that unlocked so many things I didn't even know that were blocking me. And I think that's one of the things is like, how do we know, Sonja, that it's time for us to step up and say, I want to discover, I want to make a change, or I want something to be different. And how do we do that?
Well, you said, how do we know? So first of all, you are feeling, let's say, unhappy, frustrated, not fulfilled and you wanting something more. So, oh, it's time. And in some instances, sometimes we're just so busy with life that we can't slot in a life coach or a counselor or something to help us with whatever it is that we're going through. So unfortunately, in those situations, it's like when the pain escalates, whether it's the emotional pain, the physical pain, or even the mental anguish, that we then reach a point where we go, you know what, this is unacceptable. I don't want this. I don't want to live this way. It's time for me to go and do something about it. So, it's interesting because I've worked with a spectrum of clients, and most of them come to me because they've tried to work on themselves. So they're very keen and ready and eager, but they've just not reached the level that they want to reach, or they haven't had their issue completely resolved. And that's something that I can speak more to if you'd like me to. I've noticed over the last 25 years of doing this work is that unfortunately a lot of coaches and therapists aren't necessarily trained in how to go right to the core of the issue. What often happens is that we are dealing with things at a conscious level. And yes, mindset matters. And it's great if you have positive thoughts and you're energetic when you get up in the morning. But at the end of the day, if you're dealing with imposter syndrome, for instance, I'm not good enough, there's a layer underneath that. And that layer needs to be removed for imposter syndrome to completely be gone. So I think it's a scenario of educating people in terms of, the personal development industry. And I'm saying this from personal experience, having done a lot of work on myself, but I'm also basing this on clients that have come to me from across the globe, is the norm is to give people coping mechanisms or to manage the issue. And at the end of the day, if we're very honest here, Linda, what happens is that if let's say you have this issue, so you've got a coping mechanism, it pushes it down. And you're cruising along for, let's say a month or two, and then what happens? It comes up again. And then you use that coping mechanism again, and you push it down. So it goes. So essentially, you're moving through life like this. And I think what people need to become aware of, and this is what as I said, I'm basing this on having spoken and seen thousands of people, is that it is possible for you to completely remove an issue, whether it's mental, emotional, or life situation that you're struggling with. It is possible. It's just getting to the person that has the methodology and the person that has done this with others, that you can go and say, okay, I'd like to hire you and let's do this.
Yeah, getting those results from somebody, because not all therapists, coaches are created the same. And so you all have different experiences themselves. It's interesting because as you mentioned, because I asked the question, how do you know it's time? And for me, it was like that, kind of like that volcano just erupted. I was 51 years old. I was driving to work. I had been in the corporate world for 36 years and had 49 jobs. As I was driving to work, working for a judge in the Court of Appeals, which was the highest level that I could go in my line of work as a legal secretary, I was driving to work and I was just so filled with this hate and anger. And I had been filled with that hate and anger for 51 years. Like this was my life. And I was just like, I hate this. Like, why am I here? I have no worth. I have no value. Why am I even on this planet? There's no reason for me to be here. And that day when I got to work, so I was asking the questions. When I got to work, a life coach appeared in front of me and I ended up deciding to work for her. It was one of the greatest decisions I ever made to say yes. I was like, I don't even care how much it costs. Like, I want something different. And so that for me was that, like you said, like, exactly. It was that breaking point. I was literally a volcano about to erupt.
Exactly. And to your point, like it's a combo of the emotional state builds up that you are, as you said, a volcano. And at the same time, you are so ready on the inside that it's bursting out of you. And what happens, the universe presents you with someone that can actually help you along this track. So just very quickly to that point, I remember this many years ago. I was in Cape Town and I had a client in her 50s come to me, and she'd been with a psychologist for 12 years and she was dealing with anxiety. She'd been put on to all sorts of medication. And she said, I want to just try this. She said, I might as well try it. Like, let's see what's going to happen. So not very confident, it's like, okay, whatever. And what happened is that within 2 sessions, her anxiety was completely gone. And she said to me, how's this possible? I've been trying to deal with this for 12 years and I come to you and it's gone in 2 sessions. And I said, you've got to remember, first of all, it's the methodology that I use. Second of all, you're very ready to do this. This is something I've seen over the last 25 years, Linda, and it's fascinated me. It's like when people aren't really ready, they kind of go, I think I'll go and see a coach, but I just want to talk about it. I don't really want to go deep, or I don't really want to go and have a look at it that much in detail. They don't get very far. But when they reach that breaking point, then the universe will literally put someone in front of them that can actually take them to where they're wanting to go.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because that kind of alludes to, like, you should wait till you're at the breaking point, but that's not true. No. Because I was at a breaking point. That's where, yeah, that might not be the message here, but sometimes that is what it is. And there's that saying that I love so much: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now the teacher is there, but they just haven't appeared in your sphere of influence yet because you're not ready. But when you're ready, they will appear. And that's exactly what happened for me on that day. And boy, was I ready. Again, I was ready to blow my top. I wasn't going, please let me rephrase that, because I don't have any intention of saying that I was going to do something. I was not going to kill myself or anything, but I was just like, I was so angry and frustrated. And so I just love to say, like, to anybody watching this right now, is to, where are you right now in your life? Where are you feeling? Are you feeling frustrations, aggravations? Are you feeling that imposter syndrome? Are you feeling like you're not good enough? Are you feeling like you're worrying too much? All these different things that you may be feeling right now. There is help out there, but it's finding the right help. So let's talk, Sonja, about some of the work you do. So how is your work unique? And, how do people benefit from, you already mentioned the one lady with the 12 years, but how do people benefit from working with you? You said you've worked with over 1,000 people. That's a lot. So let's look at all those 1,000 people and what has been their greatest benefit?
What has been their greatest benefit? How about me? I'll go there first, and then I'll explain to you what makes my work unique. So their greatest benefit, and this has brought me immense joy. This is why I love doing this work, even after 25 years. I know it sounds crazy, is they can feel the difference and they can see it. So if I can share a very quick example, I had a client who came to me to deal with fear and anger. And in 4 sessions, we had that sorted out. But after 2 sessions, she had already cleared like most of it. So she goes and she has lunch with a couple of friends, and her friends say, wow, you look amazing. And she was literally glowing and her skin was radiant. And they said, so one friend comes up to her and says, so, you look fantastic. Do you have a new boyfriend? She's like, no. And the other friend pipes in and she says, are you using new facial cream? She's like, no. And then he's like, well, what is it? So she says, I'm working with a life coach. They look at her both and said, what? A life coach makes you look like that? That's my favorite story. So that's literally the result, is you can feel it within you. You're a different person. You've become a better version of yourself, and others can see it as well. So that's essentially the result that you get. Is essentially an inner transformation in a nutshell version. So your question was, what makes the work that I do unique?
Yeah.
So what I'm about to say to you, I'm saying based on my own experience of having worked on myself, and obviously having worked with tons of people over the last 25 years, and the feedback that they've given me as well from across the world and all different kinds of different ways of life. So essentially what happened is that most of them have come to me after they've worked with different coaches, even psychologists and counselors, and they're coming to me frustrated, or they're coming to me annoyed, or they're coming to me in despair. Some of them have even sat in front of me and have cried and have said to me, I don't understand why I still feel this way. I've seen so many people and I feel a little bit better, but it's still there. And I say to them, you know what? The reality is, and this is unfortunate, that I'm generalizing, but in most cases, people are given coping mechanisms. They're taught coping skills and strategies to manage the issue. that they're dealing with, whether it's mental, emotional, even a life situation that they're grappling with. And at the end of the day, the reality is that what you're doing when you are managing an issue is you're keeping it in check. What you're doing when you are using coping mechanisms is it subsides, as I've mentioned earlier. So the bottom line is coping mechanisms and strategies are still the norm because that's what most people are taught. Okay? But what most people are unaware is that it doesn't solve the problem. You have to go deeper because most of it, if you look at it, and I'm generalizing here, but most coping mechanisms are located on the conscious level. So you're doing something consciously. But quite honestly, if you look at how we function as human beings, and this is neuroscience has evaluated this recently, 97% of your conscious thoughts, actions, and behavior are driven by your subconscious.
90%?
97.
97? Oh my gosh.
20 years ago, I was taught 90%, and with all the research done in neuroscience, it's 97 now. That's huge, which means most of us have the root cause sitting at an unconscious level. So what makes this work that I do unique is that I've literally developed techniques to access the root cause of a particular issue. And then very much like with a weed that you have in a garden, you take out the root, the weed is gone. But if you keep chopping off the top of the weed, eventually it regrows. So that's what makes it unique. And the beauty about the process as well is that once the root is gone, you're completely free of the challenge that you had. That's why the system that I've created I call Finally Free. Okay, for two reasons: because they finally got rid of the root, and they finally got to someone that could help them move through their particular issue. And it's interesting because we've got to realize that it doesn't take years to remove the root cause. Because I was recently asked and said, oh my God, if I go deep, how long is it going to take me? I don't want to take, and it's not going to take years. I've literally, just very quickly, I've developed two systems. One is called the belief implosion session, where a limiting belief that you've had for years is completely removed in 90 minutes. Same goes for the emotional liberation session method that I've created. Something like hurt and fear and anger and grief is gone in 90 minutes. And the nice thing about this work, because this is the mission that I've been on since I started my work, is to ensure that people get a lasting result. Not only that the work that is done properly, in the sense that we're digging into the earth and removing the root, but that the result lasts. Because so many people are frustrated and they go, I've tried this, I've tried reframing, I've tried that, and there's still something there and it resurfaces. And I'm going, I hear you, I feel for you. But it is possible to go deeper and remove that in a very short period of time.
Well, let me ask a question, because like an objection question that might come up is sure. Well, first of all, can you guarantee that in 90 minutes this will happen? Because as you mentioned earlier, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But what if a person comes, because not everybody can be hypnotized, because some people don't allow themselves to just to be in it. So yes, let's talk about that potential objection of 90 minutes, really? I mean, I've been working on this 12 years. How can you do it in 90 minutes?
Exactly. So to your point, when you are ready, you can do the session. So I'll just quickly choose the belief implosion. What happens is someone fills out a questionnaire. They tell me what they may think is the belief. So here's the thing. You don't have to know exactly what the belief is. You maybe have a vague idea. I think it could be that. I think it could be that. No worries. Okay, fill out the questionnaire. What happens is we hop onto a 30-minute connection call, and I look at, ask a couple of questions, and I get a sense of what the root cause is. And then I do a very quick intro into how the session is actually going to work, so that people can get a sense of what is it going to be like and what is it going to feel like. Okay. To your point, and I recently had someone in Arizona say to me, oh, I'd love to do the belief implosion session, but she came up with all sorts of objections, and what about this, and can I really do that? And I said, you know what? Here's the thing, you're not really ready, and that's okay. That's okay. You know what? I can see what needs to be done to get you ready, and if you'd like to do that work, we can do that. Or if you want to wait, you can do that as well. So it's really about readiness. And people,
Yeah.
it's interesting wrapping their mind around the fact that I can actually get rid of this. Yes, the 90 minutes stuns most people, but I've had enough. I beta tested this, and I have enough testimonials to prove that the result lasts. There's just very quickly a client that did it during the beta testing. I think it was 2 years ago, something like that. And 1.5 years later, she said, I recently contacted her. I said, can you give me some feedback? She said, I can't even remember the belief. It's gone.
I love that.
What is that? God, what was it? Can you refresh our memory? So
it's been replaced with a new belief that I didn't have that belief. That's awesome. I love that. And that's so fascinating that you're able to do that in such a, quick period of time. This work that you do, helping people through these different beliefs, because really so much of it is those beliefs. I like to say that, when we're born into a life of beliefs, of other people's beliefs. And then we adopt those beliefs, right? I'm a child, I adopt their beliefs. I had this belief, I'm going to share with you, this absolutely ridiculous belief that I had until I was about 25 years old. And that was that men who ate salad were gay.
Okay.
So now, and I grew up in the 60s. So being gay was, it was not a very common thing. Yeah, and so it was like, there was this huge stigma over it. So that was my belief. Then I met my husband when I was 25. I met him and he ate salad every day. And I was like, is he gay? I was like, this was a belief that my dad instilled in me when I was a child.
Absolutely.
So I immediately broke that belief.
Absolutely. And just very quickly to your point, when you look at your self-image, it is primarily created through the feedback that you got from other people. It's created by the age of 5, but through experiences you have thereafter as well, but primarily through the feedback you got from other people. So if you really look at it, your self-image is actually an accumulation of what other people told you about yourself. It's not an image that you yourself created.
Right. Yeah. It was their belief about us. And then we adopted it as our own belief. Yeah. I remember, I loved how you mentioned, the woman who, she just looked different and they were like, do you have a boyfriend? All these different things. Well, when I worked with my life coach and then a few years later, after that, I was, my husband and I play music and we were at this bar and one of our friends walked in and he looked at me and he said, hey, Sunshine, how's it going? Well, I looked behind me to see who he was talking to. Like nobody ever called me Sunshine. And then after that, it was a week later, someone else called me Sunshine. And then 2 more people within the next 3 weeks called me Sunshine randomly. None of them knew each other. And I was like, wow, they must see me as Sunshine. And I'm going to adopt that name. That's why I'm now Linda Sunshine. I'm going to adopt that name so that I can adopt their belief in me and I will start to believe it. And so that's exactly what happened. I turned into Sunshine because I allowed myself to believe it. And so it's just the brain is fascinating. And I think that, this work that you do, I mean, so good because we need more and more people believing in themselves, because when we believe in ourselves, we achieve more, we do more, we live so much of a better life, and then we impact ripple affecting to the people in our lives. So Sonja, they can reach you on your website. It's drsonjajahn.com. And what are they going to find when they head on over to your website?
They're going to see a work with me tab, and literally on that tab, everything is listed that I am offering. So one-on-one counseling sessions, the group coaching that I mentioned earlier, VIP days, the belief implosion session, the emotional liberation session, everything's there. And if you just want to kind of have a look around, there's a blog as well, read up on things, but you're welcome to reach out. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here to do. And when you're ready, let's set you free.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's Dr. Sonjahn. Now, actually, like we're here to talk a little bit about this book. So, Sonja, you are a #1 international best-selling author in the book Leadership Unveiled, where women women leading with impact. You can get your copy of the book as well as some free gifts from our authors by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/unveiled. Now, your chapter in this book is titled from the depths of despair to boundless bliss. Why don't you share just a little bit about your chapter?
So when I had the opportunity to write this chapter, I thought, well, what part of my life am I going to write about? And then I decided, you know what, have a look at all of the things that clients have said to you, and then look at where's this planet going, because I have highly developed intuitive abilities, so I can sense where we're going in the coming years. And I thought to myself, what message would be helpful for readers to take away when they read the chapter? So I share my story, which is a short part of my life, from the depths of despair, as you've mentioned, to boundless bliss. And the bliss is referring to an experience I never thought was possible. I didn't even know one could have such an experience. It was life-changing and life-enhancing. And what I've come to realize over the years that I've continued to experience high state of consciousness is we're able and we're meant to experience these states at some point in our spiritual evolution. And so much of it depends on how much inner work are we going to do on ourselves? And the interesting thing is that we don't actually, because I've had clients come to me and say, yeah, I'll deal with it next year. Or, I don't know if I'll deal with it. And I've said to them, the choice we have is not if we're going to deal with something. The choice is when. So, why does it matter to do this work? And it's very simple. It's wonderful when you're able to consistently be happy, consistently be at peace, consistently be passionate about life and the work you've come here to do, irrespective of what is going on around the world. Because I think, in this day and age where we're living, a lot of people are allowing what's happening on the outside to impinge on their internal state. And I'm going, you can be happy amidst the chaos and amidst everything that's happening, but it requires you to do the inner work. So that was essentially my motivation behind writing that chapter.
Awesome. Thank you so much for including your message, your story in here. Again, you can get your copy by going to actiontakerspublishing.com/unveiled. Now, Sonja, you were mentioning, oh shoot, I'm sorry. I should have taken a note. I usually take notes, and this time I was so enthralled with what you're saying, I didn't. So forget it. So what's one thing that you would like to share with the audience today? Like, what's one step, like one action step they can take today to move into that place of bliss? And now, first of all, I do remember what I was going to say. This is possible. As I mentioned, at 51, I was like hating my life. I had hated my life for 51 years. I ran away when I was 5 and I was gone for a week. That was because I grew up in a very volatile, abusive household. And that all carried with me. I carried around that burden for 51 years. Since I worked with somebody to work on myself, my life is blissful. Yes, there are ups and downs, but I never thought, like, I used to think that people that were happy were full of bull, they're not true. They're not real. They're fake. That's not the reality. That there are so many people out there that are living a life of bliss, and you can too, and you deserve it. You definitely deserve it. Your family deserves it. If you have children, they deserve for you to live a life of bliss so they can learn how to live a life of bliss. So it really ripple effects down. So Sonja, what's one action step people can take today to maybe to start to move to that place of bliss?
It's going to sound very simple, but decide how you want to live your life and how you want to feel daily. Because most people kind of map out, I want to achieve this in 6 months, and in a year I want to be over there, and da-da-da-da. I'm going, look at how you want to feel daily, and then decide what's not working for me. How do I want to feel daily, and what's not working for me right now? If I was feeling how I want to feel daily, okay, what would I be doing that I'm not doing right now? And in most instances, it tends to be some form of inner work at the end of the day. The thing is, I say this to people because obviously the book that, the chapter is in is all about leadership. And the leader you become is determined by the person you become. And the person you become is primarily determined by the inner work that you do. So how do you become a better version of yourself? Is do the inner work and go deeper than just the conscious level stuff that is in the mainstream. You'll find anyone who's in a consistently happy and peaceful state, they've done deep inner work. They haven't just done the, let's do the affirmations kind of stuff. And it's worth it. At the end of the day, it's worth it. Why? Because your relationships deepen, you feel more connected, you become prosperous, you feel fulfilled, and most importantly, you are consistently happy. So decide, how do you want to feel, and make the decision, the choice to do it now. Because as I said before, we're all going to have to do it at some point. The choice is now, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, 3 lifetimes, your choice. And at the end of the day, I've always looked at it, Linda, it's funny, I've lived by it's going to sound weird, like by the philosophy, if it's a philosophy, by the mantra, let's put it that way. I'm clear. What that means, if I were to leave my body in the next 10 minutes, I'm not carrying anything with me. I have no regrets. I'm clear, all good. That's what I held myself to, is how do I get to that point? And you can get to that point. You've just got to decide, what do you want for yourself? And when you've decided that, commit to it and go for it, because it's worth it.
It's way worth it. Oh, I can definitely attest to that. Oops, wrong one. You can connect with Sonja. Go to Dr. Sonja Jahn, and that's SonjaJahn.com. Head on over to her website and definitely make an appointment with her. I love this. This has been so good. Ask yourself every day when you wake up or throughout the day, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to feel today? And then live that way. Eventually, it will become you. It will be part of you. But sometimes we don't know how to do that inner work ourselves. I think probably most times we don't know how to do that inner work ourselves. Maybe there are some things that we don't even know we're experiencing. This is where someone like Sonja can come in, to help you through this. So definitely reach out to her, drsonjajahn.com. Sonja, thanks so much for being here and for sharing your message and doing the work that you do to help to make this world a better place, because every single person's life that you are impacting is impacting the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Linda. I appreciate it.
You took the overwhelm out of the whole entire process. You said you set the guidelines, you said how many words to have. And it's like, once I sat down and started typing, it just all came out so quickly and so easily. And I loved it. And I had fear to write. And I know about that. I know about that blockage within myself, but it just was so amazing how easy the process was working with Action Takers Publishing.